Gayton was never a threat to the DA. Gayton was ready to team up with the DA and kick the ANC out of the Western Cape forever. But the DA saw him as a threat, and they created this ludicrous, a vote for the PA is a vote for the ANC, which was patently wrong and has been proven to be wrong. And Leon Schreiber, who I admire immensely, I think he's going to be one of the best cabinet ministers in this GNU. Every time I'd message him, he'd just send me a simple message back, PA equals ANC. I mean, it's pathetic, really. He's eating his words now. When Gayton has come out of the box absolutely flying. In fact, probably too fast. I think the ANC see him as a real threat. He said something recently about South African sports. He said, we need equal opportunity and not equal result. It's ludicrous to say the Springbok team need to have X people of color. What we need to be doing is focusing on getting incredible athletes out of the townships, out of the homeland, and give those incredible athletes and entertainers and sports people opportunity to perform, because we've got such talent in South Africa. But to try to equalize the result is ludicrous. It's what socialism, which is a failed system, tries to do. Gayton is proving to be what he always has been, a dynamic, charismatic, superb politician. So I think he's measuring his performance a little bit more calmly, because I've known Gayton for over 3 years, and he's the same person I met 3.5 years ago. He's authentic, dynamic, charming, smart. He's on the right side of history, and he's always been the same guy. But what we don't have anymore is the DA's ludicrous teaming up with the media to discredit Gayton. The DA made a huge mistake, and they probably would admit it in private, that Gayton was never a threat to the DA. Gayton was ready to team up with the DA and kick the ANC out of the Western Cape forever. But the DA saw him as a threat, and they created this ludicrous, a vote for the PA is a vote for the ANC, which was patently wrong and has been proven to be wrong. And Leon Schreiber, who I admire immensely, I think he's going to be one of the best cabinet ministers in this GNU. Every time I'd message him, he'd just send me a simple message back, PA equals ANC. I mean, it's pathetic, really. He's eating his words now. But he's a very impressive guy. This was a stupid campaign by the DA, and they need to eat their words now. Gayton is proving to be what he always has been, a dynamic, charismatic, superb politician.
And a human being as well. He's always been a little like you, I guess, in a way, unfiltered. He says what he thinks. He says he wears his heart on his sleeve. And that is very different from what South Africans have been used to.
100%. He said something recently about South African sports. He said, we need equal opportunity and not equal result. It's ludicrous to say the Springbok team need to have X people of color. What we need to be doing is focusing on getting incredible athletes out of the townships, out of the homelands, out of the difficult areas, the disadvantaged areas, and give those incredible athletes and entertainers and sports people opportunity to perform, because we've got such talent in South Africa. But to try to equalize the result is ludicrous. It's what socialism, which is a failed system, tries to do. But giving equal opportunity is the real answer. And he's been saying that all along. He's right.
So what about this government of national unity? When watching Gayton's tweets, he's very in favor of it. He's actually held himself back from his normal reaction to certain really stupid criticism, where he would have given the guy just as bad as he got. But he seems to have almost risen to the occasion, a little bit like Mogoeng when he became Chief Justice. If you recall, he was appointed there by Zuma, but when he became Chief Justice, he took on the mantle of Chief Justice, and he called Zuma to account.
When Gayton has come out of the box absolutely flying, in fact, probably too fast. I think the ANC see him as a real threat. So I think he's measuring his performance a little bit more calmly, because, he is a man of action. He knows what's right and he knows what's wrong and he knows how to fix things. And he's not someone that suffers fools easily. But I think he realizes that he has to measure his performance. Otherwise, he becomes the lightning rod, the greatest threat to the ANC and not the DA. He's showing them up.
What about this government of national unity? It's not just Gayton showing them up. You mentioned earlier Leon Schreiber. Dean McPherson seems to be doing a very good job as well. We haven't heard anything from Steenhuisen, but I guess that's not surprising. He's got other responsibilities, one presumes, as the leader of the party. What are you making of it?
So I think the DA have a policy of delivering results, keeping quiet, and then making, maybe at 100 days, they're going to make a big announcement of what they've achieved already. And I think that's a smart thing to do. The DA be quite quiet and measured about what they've put in place in the press. But I think there's going to be a big announcement, probably in the next 30 to 60 days, of what they've already achieved in the first 100 days. And it'll be hugely impressive. The DA were given some primary portfolios and a lot of, in my view, secondary portfolios. But then they got, the DGs in probably more important portfolios. And they're going to be showing the ANC up incredibly. The ANC are going to be seen to be, for what they always are, incompetent and, in some cases, criminal. It's going to be a bit of a shock to their system when the DA actually announce what they've done and what the ANC haven't done for 30 years. And Gayton will too. The GNU will hold together, in my view. It'll hold together at least until 2027. And the two things are going to happen in 2027. You're hearing one of them first here. And do you remember that I made a prediction that the national election was going to be May the 22nd? And I made that 6 months before. I was 1 week off. Well, I'm making a prediction that the municipals are not going to be in 2026. They're going to be in February 2027. Okay? That's prediction one. But the second thing is the ANC conferences in 2027. So I think the GNU will hold together, at least until then. And who knows what will happen when we have the municipals and when the ANC conference happens. Will Cyril be recalled? Will Paul Mashatile play his cards? He is a threat. He's always been very close to the EFF. I don't know how close he is to MK. The EFF is increasingly becoming irrelevant. MK is increasingly becoming the great threat. And I think we're fine till 2027.
And this morning, to what Bloomberg is saying about Putin and North Korea, to what Franz Cronje said at one of our conferences, with the old socialist or Soviet way was push the bayonet in until you hit steel. And it seems like the West is just lying mush, but this could be a moment of steel with North Korean troops actually getting involved.
Look, firstly, the North Korean troops have never really been tested in battle. That's a country on the brink of starvation. I'm sure they're sending some of their crack troops. And I actually, in a weird way, think this is a positive thing because it might shake the West off its rather weak and pathetic posture vis-a-vis Ukraine. Whether the North Korean troops can make any difference or not against battle-hardened Ukrainians on behalf of Russians that are kind of running out of manpower, I don't know. But what it might do is trigger other non-NATO countries into stepping up support for Ukraine. And wouldn't it be nice if South Koreans stepped up on the side of Ukraine? Or more importantly, America and NATO allowed the Ukrainians to hammer targets in Russia using the weaponry that they have. And it might trigger that, which would be a good thing. So maybe this is a positive.
Extraordinary world that we live in. That other comment from our headlines about Warren Buffett, who usually backs the Democrat in the presidential election, not doing so with Kamala Harris. Do you read much into that?
I read a lot into that. I think he's saying Kamala Harris is unqualified, incompetent. Her policies are hardcore socialist, and she'd be very bad for the country. Look, nobody likes the character of Donald Trump. He's a narcissist. He's not a person I'd want to have dinner with, but his policies are sound. Whereas Kamala Harris has not been proven. She was not elected for this position to run for president. And I think she's very, very bad news. So I think that's the message from the great man in Idaho.
Yeah, brilliant, guys. What do you think? Now, Rob Hersov is actually weighing in from the perspective of South Africa and how the whole thing with BRICS and South Africa's closeness to Russia at the moment seems might affect South Africa now that it's been reported that North Korea has actually sent 3,000 troops to Russia to support its war against Ukraine. And now we see that, especially in the light of yesterday's report, that President Ramaphosa actually calls Russia a close ally that has actually been at the helm of Russia's affairs ever since the fight against apartheid. Now, it appears that North Korea seems to be getting closer to Russia, and how that whole thing plays out with South Africa's relationship with BRICS, with South Africa, and how it affects all of South Africa and South Africans is really important to understand. So we know that according to the Daily Maverick, also borrowing from Reuters, it appears that North Korea, Pyongyang, actually promised to provide a total of about 10,000 troops, whose deployment was expected to be completed by December, according to journalists. All right, and so the latest number came after Seoul, that's South Korea's National Intelligence Service, on Friday, actually said that the North had actually sent 1,500 special forces to Russia by ship. All right, so there are signs that troops are being trained inside North Korea, and that this was detected in September and October. It also appears, according to this report, that the troops have now been dispersed to multiple training facilities in Russia, and they're actually adapting to the local environment, says this report. So Ukraine President Zelensky actually has also accused North Korea of preparing to send about 10,000 soldiers to Russia, and it called on its allies to then respond to the evidence that of North Korea's involvement in Russia's war. Now, we know that South Africa and Ukraine, I don't know how to establish the kind of relationship both have, but I know that President Ramaphosa had some advocates sent during the war to both Ukraine and Russia to ask for peace. But also yesterday during the big BRICS conference, he actually called Russia a trusted ally and a friend that had actually helped the nation of South Africa break free from the trunks of oppression and apartheid and all that. But anyway, here it now says that both Moscow and Pyongyang actually have denied arms transfer, but they also pledged to boost military ties, all right, and they signed a mutual defense treaty at the summit in June. Now, it says that on Monday, a top U.S. diplomat said that Washington was consulting with allies on the implications of North Korea's involvement in this war between Russia and Ukraine. But Pyongyang has actually not responded yet at all by claims by South Korea, especially in Seoul and also in Kiev, President Zelensky's report. But also it says that authorities actually made effort to keep news of the dispatch from spreading. There was also even talk that the families of the selected soldiers cried so much that their faces were badly hurt, says this report by Daily Maverick. It says also here that, according to this Daily Maverick report, that there are also signs that North Korean authorities were relocating and also isolating their families in a certain place in order to effectively control them and also thoroughly crack down on the rumors. But anyway, this is actually where, it says that Russian instructors are assessing that the North Korean military have excellent physical attributes and morale, but they lack understanding of modern warfare, such as drone attacks. And so this is what Rob Hersov is actually saying, that North Korea might actually be leftist in its ideology, in the practice of communism, which then sides also with Russia, as it were, in terms of ideology, but that the North Korean military hasn't really been tested. And so, yeah, like this report says, that it lacks, understanding of modern warfare. And so probably that movement towards Russia then is a way of cooperating. But then this actually speaks to South Africa's report. All right, South Africa's relationship with Russia now that is actually seems to be booming, and now that BRICS is actually taking a larger share of the geopolitics in the world. And what South Africa's relationship with BRICS, South Africa's relationship with Russia and China, according from BRICS, would then how that would transcend, knowing fully well that the DA yesterday was really angry that majority of the input, especially from terms of investment, foreign direct investment stocks in South Africa come from the European Union. And so now that South Africa seems to be moving closer to Russia and China, what would happen to that stock? Would Russia and China be able to, investment from Russia and China be able to fill in the gap that probably a capital flight or investment flight from the European Union investment in South Africa be sufficient to keep the economy of South Africa afloat? So these are really important questions that are really important, and anybody anybody who's really interested in the future of South Africa has to slowly start understanding and probing and really preparing for in the eventuation of any kind of future, so to speak. But anyway, that's where we are with this video. I'm making a next video on Rob Hersov. He's actually really speaking about a scandal that's actually going on with SARU. That's a rugby union at the moment, and how Gayton McKenzie actually seems to be playing within that. I'll see you guys in the next video. But share your comments. What do you think about this video, this whole talk about North Korea, Russia, and then South Africa and BRICS? Share your thoughts in the comments.